Welcome back to the channel. I'm Eric Pincus, and today we're going to take a look at the Dallas Mavericks draft pick table. Before we begin, please just take a quick look at the description to make sure you're looking at the most recent version of this video. If the Mavericks make another trade before the 2021 NBA draft, I'll need to re-record because this will be out of date. Also, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell and you'll be appraised of any of my new content. Also, if you're feeling generous, you'll see the Patreon, Venmo, and PayPal links. And if you're interested in joining my Discord server, hit me up with a message. All right, so we're going to talk about the Mavericks, who are actually in a relatively difficult spot if they want to trade away first-round picks in any way to improve this season, to bolster a playoff run. And that's because of what's called the Stepien rule. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, they owe 2 first-round picks to the New York Knicks for Kristaps Porzingis. So they owe their 2021 pick unprotected. So wherever the Mavericks land this year, whether it's in the lottery or just in the draft at any point, 1 through 30, they owe that pick to the Knicks. They also owe their 2023 first-round pick, but that one has relatively significant protections on it. It's top 10 protected for 3 years, after which it converts to a second-round pick. So what that means is that in 2023, if the Mavericks are 1 through 10, they keep the pick. If they're 11 through 30, it goes to the Knicks. And that same test is going to apply in 2024 and 2025. And so it's important to understand that those picks are tied up, not because of the Stepien rule, which we'll get into in just a moment, but because they may owe those picks to the Knicks. So 2023, 2024, and 2025 are locked up and are not tradable picks to other teams. But also 2022 is not tradable because of the Stepien rule. And what that rule is dating back to the early 80s, the Cleveland Cavaliers had an owner named Ted Stepien who traded away a bunch of firsts, and it didn't fare well for the team, and the NBA didn't want them to trade away all of their future firsts. So they put in a rule that you can't have 2 drafts in a row without at least 1 first-round pick. And so because of the Stepien rule, the Mavericks can't trade their 2022 first-round pick. They may owe the 2023, 2024, 2025 to the Knicks, and then the 2026 pick is blocked by the Stepien rule just on the possibility that that 2025 first may go to New York. And so the Mavericks actually only have 1 first-round pick that they can send out before the 2021 draft. That's their 2027 first-round pick. But there are some ways around the Stepien rule. One of them is to trade for another team's first-round pick, which is not necessarily easy, but it's a solution. So if the Mavericks traded for another team's 21 first-round pick, in theory, they'd be able to trade their 2022. However, because they may be trading a pick in 2023, the Stepien rule still holds for 2022. So it wouldn't necessarily help them in this particular situation. If the Mavericks acquired another team's 2025 first-rounder, that would make the 2026 pick available, because even though they may send a pick to New York in 2025, they would still have this other team's pick. And so the Stepien rule wouldn't apply to 26 anymore. But the limitation here is that they can trade 2027. They're still limited in the quantity of picks they can offer. It would be then either 2026 or 2027, because they can't trade both, because that would be a new Stepien rule issue. And of course, the Mavericks could trade the pick they get from another team along with their 2027. So the quantity there is also 2. Another way the Mavericks could get around the Stepien block of the 2023 first-round pick that they owe to the Knicks would be to make an additional trade with New York to remove those protections. That's something similar to what the Milwaukee Bucks did with the Cleveland Cavaliers to acquire Jrue Holiday from the New Orleans Pelicans. They owed a pick that had protections similar to what the Mavericks owed to the Knicks to the Cavaliers, and they sent them an additional second-round pick to remove those protections, and that erased some of the Stepien issues they had. And so the Mavericks could do something very similar. If they made a deal with the Knicks and sent them, say, a second-round pick to remove those protections in 2023, the 2024 pick would still be Stepien blocked, but 2025 would be available. And then in theory, 26 would be blocked, but 27 would be available. And so that's a way that if the Mavericks needed to trade away 2 first-round picks, they could get it done. It would cost them maybe another second. I'm speculating to do so, but they can get there. Another way for the Dallas Mavericks to get around the Stepien rule would be through what's called a 2 years after trade, which would apply, say, to the 2025 first round pick. They could trade it contingent that it's 2 years after the 2023 obligation to the New York Knicks. And so if their pick in 2023 conveys to the Knicks, then their 2025 pick would convey to this other team. If the obligation conveys in 2024, then this 2 years after pick would be in 2026. And if it conveys in 2025 to New York, then it's 2027. So it is a way around the issue, but it's not perfect because now the 2026 and 2027 are tied up in a trade to this other team, and it's still just one pick. They can't trade this 2025 2 years after 2023 pick and also trade their 2027 first round pick. And in general, there's a 7-year window by which teams can trade picks. So we're talking 2021 through 2027. 2028 cannot be traded until after the 2021 NBA draft. Another wrinkle, it's not necessarily a workaround, but teams do pick swaps. The Brooklyn Nets famously made pick swaps with the Boston Celtics several years ago for Kevin Garnett in that trade that ultimately resulted in Jason Tatum landing in Boston. And we won't get into the details of that, but that originated from a pick swap. The Mavericks could do that with their 2022 pick. They can also do it with their 2026 and 2027 firsts. It doesn't matter that the 2026 is Stepien protected, because if they were to swap out that pick, they would still have a draft pick that year. So that rule is not being violated. Let's move on to their second round pick table, and that is much more open and less complex except for one pick, and I'll get to that in a minute. They cannot trade their 2025 second round pick because of the potential obligation to the New York Knicks in what we just went over with that 2023 first. They also traded away their 2026 second round pick for James Johnson. So 2025 and 2026 are out of the question. 21, 22, 24, 27 are all available. The one pick that I didn't mention was 2023, and that is not available. And I did a separate video on that pick because that's a pick that has been traded already 6 different times in some incarnation or another. And so that link will be in the description. Please check it out. But from the Mavericks' point of view, the most important thing to know is that they don't get to keep their pick. They owe it to either the Thunder, the Celtics, or the Pacers. And that dates back to the DeLon Wright trade all the way through to the James Harden trade recently with the Brooklyn Nets. And it's super complicated, and I had a lot of fun making that video. So please check that out. Well, that's basically it for the Mavericks. The main takeaways is that they don't have a lot to offer when it comes to first round picks. The only real pick that they can offer outright right now is their 2027. If they make a deal with the Knicks to remove some of the protections, they might be able to do a 2025. They definitely can do various pick swaps, more so if they make a deal with the Knicks to remove that protection. Well, that should do it for today. That's the Dallas Mavericks draft pick table. Please like the video and share it with your friends. I plan on doing all 30 teams before the trade deadline. So to that end, please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. You'll know when my next video is up. Also, if you're feeling generous, there in the description, you will find my PayPal, my Patreon, and my Venmo links. Any little bit helps, goes right back into the channel. Also, if you're interested in my Discord server, just reach out. My name is Eric Pincus. Thank you for watching.